What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sandeep Talks Real Estate. Today, I have an amazing guest here to help us all of your legal questions regarding real estate. He is our man of our friend Mahatoo. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you.
Before we start, tell the viewers at home a little bit about you and your backstory.
Yeah, okay. So my name is Brennan Mahatoo. I'm a real estate lawyer in the city of Winnipeg. I practice at a law firm called Levene, Tadman, Golub Law Corporation. It's a little bit of a mouthful. Nice, quick, easy name. But anyways, yeah, I'm really passionate about real estate. I also practice in the areas of wills and estates and corporate law. And a lot of contract related stuff. Most of it ends up being ancillary to real estate agreements related to the sale and purchase of real estate for profit, whether that's buying and flipping or obtaining a rental property, revenue property, etc. I'm really passionate about real estate. I wanted to be a real estate lawyer since I was 5 years old. Originally born in Kenora, Ontario. We moved here when I was 5, and we met with a couple lawyers in Winnipeg, one to sell my dad's rental property here and the other one to do my family's home purchase. And luckily enough, one of those two lawyers we met with, they both inspired me, but one of the two of them works with me here at Levene Tadman, which is kind of a treat for me. But yeah, a weird thing to want to do when you're 5 years old, but I was sold. It was a good experience just being a kid. And, the lawyer was like, "Oh, your son's so nice. And he's sat through the meeting so quietly." And I always encourage people when clients bring their kids with them and, they say, "Oh, sorry, we couldn't get a sitter." And I say, "Oh, it's good. Bring them. It's good to expose kids to different things. You never know what might spark their interest down the line." So that's a bit about me. I live in the south end of the city in Allen Lakes. I went to school around the area and pretty involved in the community. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us. It has been a very informative and educational experience chatting with you today. So let's jump right into it. We are going to be asking some of the questions that have been compiled from my clients and my social networks. Originally, if you remember my question to my social media, that if you had any questions you would like answered from a real estate lawyer, to shoot them my way, because I will be asking them on a later date. So from here, we can answer those questions and any later questions that might be rolling in from viewers as well. So we're going to start off with the first question, and that is, Brendan, what services do you provide, and what will it cost?
Yeah, so to start, like I said, I do mainly real estate is the bulk of what I do. It's fast becoming 80 to 90% of what I do, quite frankly. So yeah, typically I'm happy to represent clients on the sale or purchase of a residential home or condo or townhouse or whatever form of real estate they have, leasehold, condo, whatever it is, as well as commercial work in the real estate areas. I do advising on how to structure your corporation, if you're going to be buying revenue properties, if it makes sense for you. I try not to get too involved in the tax side of things. That's better left to accountants who are keeping up with that. And then I also do wills and estates. So that's kind of what I do. I guess most people are probably here for real estate's interests. So in terms of the services I'd provide, it would be anything related to residential real estate. I could cover for you, whether it's reviewing your offer to purchase, reviewing builder agreements, reviewing condo documents with you. Everything is varying complexity level. Typically, in terms of what I do, is my role tends to be to close the deal rather than open it, of course. So usually I get an offer and it's accepted and we get a file open and we're awaiting your mortgage instructions. Or if you're on the seller side, we are getting ready to prepare the transfer of land and all that legal related stuff to get the property out of your name and into a purchaser's name, and vice versa on the purchaser's side of things. Typically, if you want to know what lawyer's approval is, it's kind of your last way out of an offer. It's advisable in certain situations, it's inadvisable in others. I always typically get them for particularly new build homes. A lot of the builders pretty much will require that a lawyer review it so that they don't get stuck with bad publicity saying the client didn't know what happened. For example, on a new build, say you're buying a property from Qualico, Artista, A&S, Geno's, all those companies that build houses. there'll be a builder's agreement that you'll be signing. They're very standard. They won't change them, of course, really. Like if you don't like something, then you don't like something. But there's things in there that you might want to have some advisement on. You know, what are the restrictions? What does this mean? What does this mean? And I'll get into the cost of stuff in a moment. I'll give you a quick for instance as to the sort of approach that I take to my practice. And that is, I like to give clients homework too. I quite frankly have not been their agent. I have not gone to the properties with them. I haven't talked to them. I don't know them yet. I'm just getting to begin my relationship with them as their lawyer. And so I had a client who was buying their dream home. They were a wealthy professional. They were spending $1.5 million and they were really excited about this property. So I pulled some City of Winnipeg caveats, what was on title, what was to be developed in the future. I read through the agreement and I called them and I said, hey, you're getting the house that you think that you're getting, but I don't know why you're wanting it. So I said, I know it's frustrating that you're probably going to be saying to me, well, you're my lawyer. Why are you asking me to read this, darn 63-page agreement? Isn't that your job? And yeah, it is my job. And I'm telling you, you're getting a house that's going to be built at this address subject to builder's delays. Here are the relevant things that you might want to look at.
Absolutely.
Okay, fine. I get a text from their realtor and they're like, hey, why are you giving my clients homework? And I said, because I don't know why they bought the house. It is what it is. So they said, okay, I get it. Well, the client ended up calling me back saying, you are so right to have told me to do that because I didn't realize that in 3 years, they're going to be building a sidewalk at the end of my driveway. One of the reasons why we want to buy this property is so we can park our $350,000 RV on there on Friday night before we drive out to camp. Right. We're not going to be able to do that if they put in that sidewalk. Thank you. We'll just buy a house down the street on a cul-de-sac where we won't have to worry about that. And they did, and I reviewed that agreement. I said, yeah, no, there's going to be no sidewalk. There you go. But I wouldn't have known that, right? Like, I don't know if they have an RV. I don't know if they have a dog. I don't know what restrictions they have. So yeah, that's sort of the approach I have to my services. I like to get in, I'm very hands-on. I like to get involved. To my assistant's annoyance, I like to get very, very involved.
It's not a bad thing.
And potentially in the way perhaps, but I like to be on top of things. So in terms of costs, something like real estate is very, very much subject to change, but a typical transaction, I would expect anywhere between $800 and $1,200 for legal fees on a purchase. On a sale, it's a little bit less. So the reasons for the variations is, well, I mean, I am a lawyer. This is what I do for a living. I know people say that, all lawyers care about is money. To some degree, I really care about my job. I really like it. I want to get paid. And, I'd say the same thing about the people who work at Shoppers Drug Mart who I've never encountered any, pro bono Shoppers Drug Mart employees either. So
yes,
we all have to earn a living, but I don't like to punish clients either. If you have lots of questions, I get a lot of first-time home buyers. But yeah, the costs they do fluctuate depending on what it is. If I'm reviewing builders' documents for an hour, I usually charge extra. I'm pretty upfront about it though, and I'll let you know what the cost is going to be. You're not going to get a big surprise out of me. I'm very upfront. In terms of fees, every now and then I will get a call. It doesn't happen very often because most people, if their realtor says, Brennan's really good, if you don't have a lawyer, you should use him. And some realtors have said, I don't care if you have your own lawyer that you've used before. I want you to use my guy because I can text him at 9 p.m. on a Saturday and he'll get an answer to me. So I want your transaction to be smooth. It maybe not the most best practice, let the clients choose, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that respect and stuff like that. So with that being said, with fees, I get calls every so often where clients will say, hey, what's your fee? And I'll tell them, yeah, it's going to be about $975 for your file plus taxes and the cost of carrying the file if I have to send a courier to Vancouver or something. Right. Okay, well, that sounds okay. Like, it sounds kind of expensive. I called somewhere else and they said it was $500. And I say that, okay, but then what are you phoning me for? Maybe it's because that sounded a little bit low. And you know what? Maybe the person does charge $500 and they're really good. I don't know. Maybe they charge $500 and they're really, really not very good. And they're practicing out of their basement, which I'm sure you could run an effective practice. No knocks to anyone who does that. Or maybe they'll get it in another way. But what I say is, if the selling point of the lawyer you've called that you want to go with is that they're cheap, that's buyer beware. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that for my fees and what I do.
Perfect. Very thorough and honest answer. Much appreciated. Next question here. Between you and a client, the question pertains to how many times will we need to
If it was up to me, I'd have one client and I'd meet with them once or twice a day and bill them about $1,000 and have them for the rest of the year. And I wouldn't have to deal with multiple clients, but I wouldn't like that. And I don't really foresee myself landing a client who's willing to do that. If there are any out there, my phone number is 204-957-6406. But anyways, no, typically I will need to meet with clients once. I've had clients who say, look, I can't handle all this over the phone, reviewing these builders agreements or condo docs. Would you mind us coming in and having a meeting and going over them? So maybe on something like that, I'd meet twice, but typically it's once. So on a sale file, and I'm just going to stick mostly with real estate for the purposes of this discussion. I'm not going to talk about how many times I need to meet with you for corporate matters or anything.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of that, it's usually one meeting. So if you're a seller, I'm going to be reaching out to you close to the possession day. We're going to get you in to sign all the legal documents, transfer of land, explain the consequences, advise you on what you need to do for tax reporting, whether it's a primary or revenue property. So that's what I do on a sale. I collect your key, I get your mortgage reference number so we can pay that out. I ask you why the heck there's 2 years of arrears in taxes if there is, and tell you I'm going to have to pay it out. Or if there isn't, I let you know and tell you to call in your water and your tip payments, monthly tax payments rather. And that's what I would do on a sale. On a purchase, typically, again, I get the offer, I get mortgage instructions, I advise clients that I'm their lawyer if they have questions, yada, yada. And then I usually, I find 90% of clients, I forget that I have the conversation with them in the beginning that you probably won't even need to be meeting with me until about 2 or 3 days before possession. Don't worry, you haven't been forgotten. I have a very wonderful memory. It's served me very well. I remember movie quotes like lightning. But the thing is, we want to book you in close to signing so that we tell you what we need from you. You know, get your insurance set up, have it sent to you, call your mortgage specialist and get on their butt and get them to send the instructions. But we want to get you in a couple days before possession because I want to give you your key at the same appointment. So again, we only have to meet once. And so in saying that, it's not that I don't want to see people more. It's not that I don't want to get them their keys and have everything done and signed and ready to go 2 months in advance, but we don't really run that way. You know, we have to, every time you're running up to the 1st of the month, you're running up to the 15th of the month, you're running up to the 31st of the month, and then you're at the 1st for the next month. And so we get you in close so that everything is done and ready.
Perfect.
And also clients have said, well, how come, the mortgage money isn't going to be requested until the day of possession? Well, the bank's not going to give you money until you have the right to own the house.
Well said. And I'm glad you added that point because, that is a very popular question. Glad you added that mortgage payment question. Well, next question. This one's a fun one. Do I need title insurance?
Yes, on every transaction, you need title insurance. Title insurance protects your interest in the title for the duration of your ownership of the property. There's not a single bank in all of Canada or lending institution that will advance mortgage funds or financing funds without title insurance being in place because it protects them too. I've had clients say, I don't really want title insurance, I'm just buying vacant land and I might build on it in the future, but I'm just going to hold it for a while. And I say, sure, that doesn't matter. You still need to be protected to your title ownership. It doesn't really matter that you don't have a structure on there yet. You have land and you want to protect it. Say you buy the land and say the seller of the land has a really high unpaid credit card. They find out that they own this land. Maybe they register something against the title. 33 minutes before I register your transfer of land and get the property into your name, all of a sudden you're stuck with it. So title insurance will pay out something like that to protect your interest in the title. So it doesn't matter. I get title insurance on every transaction. I don't know of a single lawyer who does not. And hopefully I never learn of the lawyer that doesn't.
Me neither. Well said. Next question. What is a statement of adjustments?
Statement of adjustments is a statement of the adjustments that need to be made. So it's kind of as simple as that. Anything that needs to be adjusted for. So prime example, taxes, property taxes. Say Greg buys a house, possession day is August 15th. The seller has had their monthly tax payment come out of their account on the 1st of August. So all of a sudden, well, they've now paid to the end of that month. Well, Greg's getting a free 15 days, but no, we have to adjust for that and say, okay, we're going to credit you, say it's $100 worth of the payment is, you say the payment's $200, it's halfway. So we got to credit that seller for the $100 so that they have that. Lawyers do that. So the way we do that is we'll get you to bring in a bit more money when you come in to sign, and we'll pay it out to the seller as part of the payment for the down payment, and then mortgage funds to follow. So that's an adjustment for that, because it's not fair that anyone underpays taxes. Another type of adjustment would be, say that it's a condo and there's condo fees. Again, same situation, credit for however many days. Another typical one that people have a difficult time with, and it does cause you to have a bit of a pinch sometimes with a couple extra bucks, more than a couple extra bucks, maybe a couple $1,000s. And so I'll give for instance where that adjustment will need to be made. So say you buy a property, you're taking possession in August, and the seller has paid the taxes for the year on June 1st, full payment. Unfortunately, you can't go on the monthly tax payments now, because we can't ask the city of Winnipeg to refund the money and then send them slow payments. They don't do that. So what you're going to have to do is credit the seller for your portion of the taxes for the year. I've had a lot of pushback from clients saying that doesn't sound right. I don't feel like I should be responsible. And I say, no, trust me, you're not responsible for the whole year. But it has been paid in full already, so we have to credit them for your share. Next year, you can go on the monthly payments. And we don't have any control, whether you're a realtor, lawyer, mortgage specialist. We don't have any control over those things of what people prefer to do. So that's a typical thing as well. Rental properties, you might want to have a rent adjustment. So if you're taking over the tenants that currently own currently occupy the property, they may have paid for a month, and then you credit for whatever it is.
Perfect. That's one way that, most people don't get caught with their pants down and they start to freak out, where it's like, why do I owe so much? And so very valid point. Thank you for that. The next question is, when/how will I receive my key on the closing day?
So you'll receive your keys from me, hopefully on the time when you come in to sign, which again is why I have people closer to the possession. On rare occasions, you may need to come in to sign before I have the key. There might be a tardy seller who has not gone into their lawyer's office yet, or they haven't had time, or even with quarantining and stuff like that in today's day and age can have an impact on items like that. So we usually, like I said, I'll book you in for signing and you'll get your key at the appointment. That happens about 7 out of 10 times. 1 out of 10 times the key comes in very last minute and you have to come back to pick it up. And the other 20% would be new builds or condos where your condo corporation might be giving you your key at your walkthrough or your new home build. So I'd say those are roughly the percentages, but 70 to 90% of the time, you'll get your key from me the day you come to sign, because that's why I'm booking you to sign. And Perfect. So one thing I will say that we do, and I'm trusting clients when I give you your keys a few days before possession, that you're not going to go into the property. You are, for a variety of reasons, not supposed to do this. I believe I've told you this story before, but I'll tell it again.
Yes, please do.
For example, you could walk in on someone in their bathrobe and you could have an image seared in your brain of something you never needed to have, and have someone be very upset with you. Number 2, very important, you're breaking and entering. You do not own the property yet. Number 3, you have no active insurance on the property yet, and the seller's insurance does not cover you. It doesn't matter. And I will tell you what happened to clients of mine who did not listen. I booked clients in on a Tuesday to sign. I had their key already. Their possession day was a Friday. This was earlier this year. The clients do not listen to my trusted advice on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, I get 11 phone calls when I decide to have the audacity to go step away from my desk for lunch. I call the realtor back that's phoning me. I'll leave them nameless, and they're in a panic, and they tell me their clients went into the property and that it's trash. There's holes punched in the walls, alcohol everywhere, fridge doors ripped off, light fixtures smashed, sink taps pulled out. And so I all of a sudden think, I'm like, okay, well, they're going to have to make an insurance claim. And then it dawns on me, why is the client in the property before Friday? They don't have any insurance. And why would the seller's insurance cover them?
Right.
Big mistake, costly mistake. And so an insurance company might look at that and say, hey, you're the ones that went in there. How do we know that you didn't just do all this stuff because you thought, sweet, I could get new walls done, I get a new fridge, I get new sink taps? No, don't go in until your possession day and time. Unless you have express consent from the seller. Like, say you go there and they say, yeah, sure, we're out of here by now, come on in, go for it. In which case, if something screws up, then they're going to claim on their insurance. But yeah.
Well said. That's critical and very cost-saving advice. or potential hiccups that a new homeowner might take. Very good
And
advice.
people are eager.
Yeah,
People
of
are
course.
very eager. People are very eager. It was the couple that did this. I felt bad. I wish that they didn't get stuck, but they did get stuck with having to repair stuff. And they were new Canadians, very excited about their first home and very eager. But it's the reason why I'm advising you these things is to protect you.
There you go. Absolutely. Another question here. Can you explain the weight of the property disclosure statement?
Yeah, so if you take the pages and you put them on a scale, see how much that comes out to, and there you will have that answer in full. I do slightly mean that. It is a piece of paper and it is a contract.
Yes.
The same way that you have any number of contracts and warranties with people in your life, and it's fulfillment of said contracts that can be a complicated process. What its value is it gives you the ability to sue should it not be should something not be disclosed. However, then you do have to sue, and that is a cost, and that is a pain. It also does protect you from certain things that title insurance could step in for, very rarely, but there are certain things if they said it was zoned for whatever it was, and this thing and this thing. So and it is limited to knowledge, right? Like, what do you actually know and what can you prove? Like, the reality is there's a proof element to things. So I'll give you, for instance, good friends of mine that I worked with for many years, way back when I was in university. They bought their first home, and it was last year, I think it was, when there was a lot of heavy rainfalls. If anyone remembers, it was a very, very rainy summer, and the roof started to leak, and they had it in the PDS that the roof had been replaced very recent, had been replaced within the last 5 years, and it shouldn't have happened. And then they went into their attic and discovered there were a bunch of buckets in there and everything like that. So they said, well, maybe they knew, like, how do we prove this? And I said, well, the reality is, when I looked at the title from the previous owner's ownership, they had only been there for 2 years. And so you never know, maybe they did not know of this problem and it was a previous seller's knowledge that wasn't disclosed. And I said, short of having property of and their name on those buckets, you have a slim chance at proving that they did know.
Yeah, and that's where things can get really tricky, and a lot of certain expectations, might be certain letdowns that might happen, because when the reality is, a lot of what I'm allowed to say, I'm not a legal professional by any means. A lot of the times when liability falls into the property disclosure statement, it's really, to the owner's best knowledge and proving that they were aware of that said fact on the issue at that given time. So it is a gray area. Leave it at that.
Well, and what I would caution too is to say that, I mean, if you're buying a used residential property, it doesn't sound like a nice statement for me to say this, but I have to be you have to be grounded in reality and legality for me.
Right.
Is that you're buying a used home, and it's equivalent. It seems so ticky-tack small, but you're buying a used home. It's like buying a used TV on Kijiji. Sure, the property, the TV that was sold to you was 2 years old. Cool. There might be 2 years worth of wear and tear on it. If something breaks, like, buyer beware. That is a reality of purchasing a used home. I mean, I've had clients where something happens and I say, you chose to buy a home that was 50 years old. This is a choice. You paid less than you might have if you bought a brand new home. And so that is a choice that is made, and unfortunate things happen. And I'll always step in and try to do my best to help if I can. I'm not going to just say, take off and go take a hike. I have no legal responsibility to help you with this or whatever it is. I'll try to help or point out suggestions, or see if I can write to a seller's lawyer and say, hey, can you, see if your clients know about this. But that's why it's good to have a good home inspector. That's why it's good to go into things with open eyes and understand that, down the road, you may need to replace something. And I'll also say this, on 100% of every transaction I've ever had where there is a pool or a hot tub, it is leaking. I don't know why, but it is leaking a couple of days after possession.
You know what? Sometimes the world may never know why, but I will agree with you on that one too. I countered quite a bit myself. So
yeah, I say congratulations to people. Sometimes I make the joke and I say, let me know if it is, but I say, congratulations, you're inheriting the liability of a pool ownership.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting way to look at it, but I do agree. Kind of a personal question, and this is more of one that ties into a lot of what you just said. So, for an example, if a client of mine were to buy a property, it turns out months later that the previous owners did not disclose sufficient enough information, and in this said property, a major problem has occurred. Let's say a foundational wall had collapsed. Is there anything insurance-wise? Kind of discovered it, but anything insurance-wise, or any other additional options, homeowner can being in this situation?
There is recourse. You can try your title insurance to see if it is something that they cover. Again, title insurers cover unknown risks, so that is a decent start. But again, it's an insurance company. I love the insurance industry. I have great insurance myself. I'm a paranoid lawyer, so I do have good insurances on a great number of things, whether it's property or personal or health or disability or whatever it is. But an insurance company is an insurance company. They're in the business of selling insurance and placing insurance. They're not in the business of paying out insurance typically, right? Like they of course do it in the course of their business, but some insurance companies, and this is not true of any insurance company I know, but I tell clients, have the mindset when you're thinking about what will my insurance cover, have the mindset that they cover you for fire and theft. What they don't tell you is your house has to be on fire while it's being robbed. So you may want to try that. You may want to try your home insurance, but that is a risk always. And if there is something wrong and the seller lied and you can prove it, of course you can sue them in small claims, which is your best bet. Small claims is always your best bet. Don't jump to Queen's Bench, which is over $10,000 claims. Right. You're going to be paying a lawyer a heck of a lot more than that. And I'm sure one of the litigators in my office would be happy to bill $50,000 for, a serious issue, but it may be worthwhile, right? If $100,000 mistake or lie may be worth it to sue, but you need to know the seller had assets, and there's a lot of considerations. So
right, absolutely. Well, I mean, that's excellent. Thank you for those answers. It's a very informative series of questions and answers, so much appreciated. Now, Brendan, if any of our viewers or future watchers had any more questions or that would like to get in touch and connect with you, how can they do so?
Yeah, so I'll give my direct line at the office. It's 204-957-6406. I would give you my email, but then I would be reading out letter by letter, and I would get into the business of A is for Apple, A is in Apple, S is in Samuel, and I don't feel like doing that at the moment. So what I would say is your best bet. You can Google Brendan Mahatoo. You'll find the Levene, Tadman, Golub blog website, and you can find all my contact details there.
Excellent. And you know what? That actually wraps it up for today's stream. If anyone out there has any questions in regards to real estate, whether buying or selling, feel free to contact me, as my team of local experts and I are always ready to help. And don't forget to check out the video description for more information on myself and also Brendan. That's all for now, everyone. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. Thank you again, Brendan, for taking.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Bye, buddy.
Okay, bye.